Live from Utah's #1 news channel, this is KUTV 2 News at noon.
A wanted man from Utah is in a South Dakota jail after a pawn shop owner tipped off police. Thanks for joining us here on 2 News at noon. Now Utah's U.S. Attorney is hoping to have the FLDS leader, Lyle Jeffs, back in the Beehive State within the next few days.
A trial team comprised of our top prosecutors and investigators eagerly await the opportunity to give Mr. Jeffs his day in court.
Federal prosecutor John Huber says Jeffs will be driven back to Utah, where he will stand trial for food stamp fraud and money laundering. Jeffs will also face even more charges for crossing state lines and fleeing. Prosecutors say he will not get a plea deal or any sort of home confinement deal. Officials say he's been on the run for nearly a year. Now, the pawn shop owner who pointed the finger at Jeffs told us that an alert employee saw his name on a driver's license.
So I had Utah plates and noticed it was Utah ID. For some reason, he felt the need to Google him.
Jeffs came into the pawn shop earlier this week. A clerk thought something was a little off and followed his hunch. And after the tip, cops found Jeffs near a marina just outside of town. He appeared to be living in his truck. The FBI was offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to Jeffs' arrest. The tipster has not been told if he will get it. Well, new at noon, we are hearing from the South Dakota cops who nabbed the fugitive polygamist leader.
Yeah, Jeffs is waiting in a jail there before he comes back to Utah. We have Jeremy Harris live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota right now. Jeremy, any new developments in the case since we saw you this morning?
Yeah, and Mary, I just got off the phone with the U.S. Marshal's office here. They say they're still working the case, but we did confirm that Lyle Jeffs is still in jail here in Sioux Falls. Likely going to be taken back to Utah very soon, but also new this morning, we've talked to the officers who helped get him after that tip came in just a few miles from here. Their sign will tell you this is the land of great faces, but among the familiar faces of Yankton was a new one on the front page of today's paper.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, it don't happen too often.
It was a big arrest for the cops here, who earlier this week heard fugitive polygamist Lyle Jeffs had been spotted in town.
After we got the tip from the pawn shop, that's when we started looking for him.
That tip came from the River City Tool and Pawn, where Lyle Jeffs sold a pair of pliers on Tuesday. Cops spotted Jeffs 24 hours later outside this marina west of town.
It turned out to be him, and he came out with out of the vehicle, and there was no incident.
Jeffs bolted from federal authorities last year in Utah, hundreds of miles and seemingly a world away from the unassuming streets and faces of Yankton.
Once we found out that he was here and now he's arrested, yeah, it's good to have him out of here.
So as I spoke with the court clerk here in Sioux Falls this morning, he was telling me that pretty much all the hearings that are going to happen here have now concluded. Everything else is going to be handled in Utah. There's also not too many details available in the form of public records about what he may have been doing here or the immediate circumstances around his arrest. They say everything's going to have to be handled through the Utah court. So we're still going to be working with the court clerks here, trying to figure out what comes next. But we do know, according to the U.S. Attorney there in Utah, that Lyle Jeffs is going to be taken back to Utah, hopefully within the next few days, according to them. Back to you.
Well, with the feds involved with this whole thing, do they still go through the regular extradition proceedings?
Yeah, and that process may be expedited. In fact, as I was speaking with the court clerk just a few minutes ago, he told me that Jeffs actually waived some of the hearings that he could have had here in Sioux Falls, likely in a case to just move everything back to Utah quickly. I did also confirm that he is using a public defender here in South Dakota for right now as his attorney.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeremy.